Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining to this presentation. My name is Raza. I'm a club leader, and today, together with our Global Power BI community, and we have the amazing session that Reza is going to be presenting for us. But first, I want to give and mention some highlights about our community. So the Global Power BI community we're trying to have like every month one session from an expert from the industry, and we have participation from 25 plus leaders in the world. So we have presence in 20 countries, and we reach like 3 point something K Facebook members we have actually on our Facebook account. We invite all of you, like if you are not part of our Facebook community and linking group also, you guys can go ahead, and I'm going to share like some links that you guys can use to join to our community. On November, this one's are the upcoming session that we're gonna have on November. So Leila is gonna be presenting hopefully on November 9. We're still waiting on the session details and the topic that she's gonna be talking. Also, we're gonna have time intelligence in Power BI with Marco Russo, and this one is gonna be November 16. So I hope you guys, if you guys register already for this session, you don't need to register again, and you will receive an email like with all the details for both sessions. Today, we have Raza read. After a lot of day, like and more upcoming presentation that he has, like still like on Summit. I think he's doing presentations. He will be talking today about sharing and security in Power BI, and use like some information about Riza. He's an author, trainer, and speaker and consultant, and as well as a Microsoft MVP. He wrote some books on Microsoft SQL BI, and also has a book on Power BI, which is really good. And he's also an international speaker in conferences like Past Summit, TechEd, and many more. So with this, I pass it over to Reza so he can start the presentation.
Great, thank you. Thanks for great introduction. Just checking one more time. Everyone can hear me okay? You can put it in a message window as well. Yep, okay, all right. So I share my screen in a second. Share your desktop. All right, so let me just check, is my desktop shared? Yep, it seems shared. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining this session. Today's talk about Power BI sharing and security unleashed. A little bit about myself. I'm Raza, Microsoft Data Platform MVP, focused on Power BI and Microsoft Business Intelligence toolsets. I'm based in New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm a consultant trainer. I'll do traveling a lot in different cities, training on Power BI majority of time these days, and also a lot of consulting on Power BI. I have written a few books as part of those. Power BI from Rookie to Rockstar is one of them, which is free and available as a PDF to download. It's 1,100 pages. There is a link at the end of this slide deck which you can download from there. So feel free to download it. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. These are my contact information in case that you have any questions, and I believe this session will be recorded, so later on you will have access to this session through Global Power BI User Group YouTube channel. The agenda of things that we will be talking about today is I will focus on some of the sharing options. In Power BI we have a lot of sharing actually options. Sharing options that I will talk about today are only those sharing options that are interactive. As an example, taking a screenshot from a Power BI report and sending that to someone, we don't talk about that today. Or exporting a Power BI report into a PowerPoint and then share it with someone else, or sending the PBIX to someone else. We will not talk about those because these are not, let's say, proper ways of sharing. I'll talk about only methods for sharing that works through the website, through your actual report with the interactivity within. So we will talk about items like sharing from dashboards, workspaces, Power BI apps, pros and cons, publish to web, embedding into SharePoint Online, and Power BI embedded. This is the sharing side of our session, and I will talk about role-level security as well. What are situations that you want to implement it, and what are different types of implementing role-level security. If you want to also learn these more in details, my demos all is available in my blogs. I have written blog posts about almost any of these, and you can follow those blog posts and learn that in details how that particular feature works. Okay, so let's start this with sharing dashboard. So for sharing dashboard in Power BI, for sharing content in Power BI, the most basic way of sharing that is to create a dashboard and then share that dashboard with someone. This is a very quick way of sharing, and you have only the option to share with someone. They will have read-only access to your content. It will not be edit access, and you can manage that sharing in a way that you can remove that sharing at any time you want. For any of these methods that I will talk about today, any of these sharing methods, users need to have Power BI Pro account, or they need to be part of Power BI Premium capacity. There is only one way of sharing, which I'll talk about that today, which is available for free for everyone, which is published to web. So we'll get to that point. But this method, you need to be part of a paid subscription, either Power BI Pro or Power BI Free, but part of a Power BI Premium subscription. So it's a paid subscription. Okay, so assume that we have a dashboard like this. This is a Power BI dashboard with a number of items on it. When I want to share this dashboard, I simply go to the share option, not the screenshot, just the share itself, and you can easily add email accounts here, right? So I'll add email account of my other account, Power BI account. You have two options. You can choose if users has access to share this dashboard with others, and if you want to receive, if you want to send them an email notification that this is shared with you. I exclude this at the moment, and I just click on share. So that's all. That's all you need to do for sharing. Now I open this Power BI into another browser with my other account. To just show you how other users can access it. I sign in within Power BI with my other account. So this is another account. In my other account, I can easily go to shared with me section. And I would see this dashboard is shared with me about 30 seconds ago. Owner of that is Raza, and I can click on it to see that dashboard. I would see exactly the same dashboard here. However, I cannot make any modification. I cannot move these tiles around. I cannot delete these tiles. I have access to the dashboard, and I have access also to the report. When you share the dashboard, the report will be also shared. So I click on the tile and it will drill down into the report. I have full interactivity access on the report. I can interact with that easily, and I can also slice and dice whatever I want, right? So in terms of interactivity, I have full interactivity access. However, I cannot edit report. You can see at the top of the report, there is an edit report option, which I do not have access to edit report. So I can just view the report. If the data set changes and updates, I will get updates and I will see the new changes, but I am not able to change the update process of the report or anything like that. This is the most basic way of sharing. If the person who shared this report wants to unshare it at some stage, they can simply go to the share section again, into the access, and just remove that access. That's basically very simple. So you just add people and just remove their access. very simple scenario. This is the most basic way of sharing. We call it dashboard sharing because you have to do that from the dashboard. The next way of sharing is covering some of the limitation that we have in the first method. In the first method, the only way of sharing was read-only. So if you are working within a development group, you want to have a collaboration environment and share content with each other and give some people edit access, the first method doesn't give you that option. The other limitation for that was that the first method, you have to share every dashboard separately. So if you have hundreds of dashboards, then you have to go in every single one of those, do the dashboard separately, do the sharing separately. The new method is workspaces, the next method to sharing. Workspaces, as it says, is creating a workspace. It's at the moment it's bundled with the Office 365 groups. So you create a group, a work group. People, you add people into that group. You can give them edit and view access. So it is possible to have edit or read only. And also you can share multiple items at the same time. So that's one of the really good features of having workspaces. So let me show you how workspace can be created. It's a really simple option. In your Power BI account, you have this workspace section. So you click on that and you create a workspace. You just specify a name for this. So I call it Global Pog Workspace, let's say. Now here you can choose if users has edit access or view only access to your content. So let's say I set this as edit access and I add other members to this user. So I select them here, I add them and save them. Also here you can add other email addresses or their Office 365 group, doesn't matter, both is perfectly fine. So I click on save. When I click on save, I will be redirected to a whole new workspace because I don't have any content in this workspace at the moment. It says that welcome to this workspace and no report datasets or dashboard is already available in this dataset. So in order to have something in this dataset, you have to publish a report. At the moment, the only way to have content into a workspace is to publish it. So I open my Power BI desktop and publish a report from there, and I'll show you how other user can access to that. While my Power BI desktop is opening, I'll go to my other Power BI account just to show you that this account also has access to that workspace. So I go to this account. Under the workspaces, I will see this new workspace created. So this account, because I've added that under this workspace, has access to the workspace, but again, because there is nothing here, so I don't see any content yet. Now I go to my Power BI desktop. Let's open one of the recent reports. Let's say this one. So I just open one of these reports and I want to publish this report into that workspace. So when I click on publish, usually when you are part of multiple workspaces, it will ask you which workspace you want to publish. So I select that and then publish. This is at the moment the way to publish content into a workspace. Publish process is really simple usually. So it takes a few seconds usually to publish, and it is published now. In the account that I have created myself, if I go to the workspace reports, because I don't have any dashboards yet, reports, I see that report perfectly fine. If I go to the account, to the other account that has access to this workspace, that account also can go to the list of reports, see that report. So both accounts have access to report, and at the moment it's just one report, but if there are, let's say, hundreds of reports, hundreds of dashboards, all of these accounts has access to all of these content within one workspace. And because I said that this account has access to edit, so you can see at the top section here we have edit report. So user who has edit access can actually edit the report. So a number of items in this method of sharing. One is that you can share multiple items. Everything that you add into your workspace will be shared with all people part of your workspace. Also, you can give them edit access or view access. So you have two options with that. So it's easier to share when you have multiple items. It's a good collaborative environment. However, there are some limitations in this way of sharing. For this way of sharing, one of the limitations is that those users that you give them edit access, they have full access on your content, so they can easily modify your original report. So edit access means that they can actually modify your original report. The other limitation is that if you want to give some users edit access and some users view access, it is not possible to do this. You should say either all of them edit or all of them view, right? So this is not, let's say, the perfect way of sharing within the whole organization for a Power BI solution in production. This is a good way for a collaborative environment between a number of developers in a team, but not a really good environment for publishing a report to users. There are a number of reasons for that. One reason is that even if I create a workspace, and in that workspace, if I share a number of reports, dashboards with users, and while they are using it, let's say I gave them view access only. While they are using it, if I change this report, if I come here and remove this tile as an example, remove this report tile, edit it, do any changes, they will be affected immediately. So there is no, let's say, there is no development life cycle with that. There is no development environment, production environment, things like that. Some people use this method in a way that they create a workspace for development, another workspace for test, another workspace for production, which works somehow, but there are some difficulties in that. At the moment, there is no way to copy content from one workspace into another workspace. That means if you have created your dev workspace, then after doing your system testing, if you want to publish it into UAT workspace, then you have to publish it again from Power BI Desktop there. And because dashboards are not Power BI Desktop feature, so you have to recreate those dashboards into the new workspace. At the moment, there are some limitations for that. So this method is working better than the previous method in some cases, but still has some limitations. So let's now talk about the third method. Third method is Power BI app. Power BI app is a new generation of Power BI content pack. Power BI content pack was a method that used previously. I have written a blog post about it, but because this method is discontinued already, content pack, and the replacement of that is Power BI app, so I will not talk about content pack, what it is and what it could do. I'll talk just about Power BI app and what are features of that. So Power BI app came to help in scenarios that Workspace cannot help itself. So the Workspace limitation was that you could not have a number of users as readers, a number of users as edit views. And if you change the content while users are using that, then users will be affected immediately. It didn't give you the development life cycle or multiple environment scenario. Power BI app came to solve that issue. So Power BI app, how they work. I'll go to my Power BI workspace. For creating an app, you have to have a workspace at the beginning, so it doesn't work without workspace. You should have a workspace, right? So I do already have a workspace. It is called Global Pog Workspace, and I have a number of content in it. So when you have a workspace, then you can create an app for that. That's why these workspaces are called app workspace, because you can create an app based on this. So while I'm in this workspace, I click on Publish App at the top, and I'm able to to put some configuration. First, I put a color for this, let's say a header color. This will be helpful for users because when they are in that app, they will know that based on the color that which app they are and things like this. So I put some description. Let's say this is sales analysis, Power BI content published for something. So you can put some description as you want. In the content tab, at the moment, all of the content in your workspace will be selected here automatically. So you don't have the option to uncheck them or select some of these. This is one of the things in Power BI roadmap. So later you would be able to do the selective publishing. At the moment, it's not possible. You can also specify a landing page. So when people go to that app, they will be able to go to that. They will see that landing page at the very first. So I select that single report as a landing page. Then in the access, you can specify if you want to give edit access or read-only access. Sorry, not edit access or read-only access. You decide to give access to your entire organization or a specific group of people. Let me say entire organization and click on finish. Your app will be published and you have a link that you can send it to all people that so they can start installing that app. Or another way is that those users, they can go to their Power BI accounts. Under Power BI accounts, they can go to the apps part. They might be already part of different types of apps. You can see I have a number of apps. Or if they want to get a new one, they just click on Get Apps. They will see all apps which are shared with them. You can see this is the app that we've been just talking about. For every app also you can specify the background image and the image logo, things like that as well, but this needs to be done in Office 365 itself. So I found the app, I click on Get It Now, it will be added under the list of my apps here. So this is the app which is just added here. When I click on that app, I will be redirected to that landing page because this is my landing page. I will always see this at the very beginning. I will also see some colors at the top and at the right hand side that are showing that I'm in this app. So these are those color background. If I want to slice and dice the data, I can easily do that. So I have read-only access. I do not have edit access because I'm only a user of this app, so I cannot edit the content. Also, if I want to navigate into other reports and dashboard, I just go to this view content list. I will see other reports, dashboards, data sets in the app itself. I cannot modify them. I cannot edit these originals. I am just viewer of this content, and I can just browse the content. While this user is browsing this content, if the person who is actually owner of this app make any changes, so this is the account which is owner of the app. If I go to the report and make any changes, let's say I remove this report tile and save it back, right? So this report doesn't have that tile anymore. However, users are still seeing that tile, even if they refresh it, even if they close it and open it again, they will still see that. So this is really powerful feature in Power BI app. You have a development environment and you have a production environment. My production environment will not be affected by the changes that I make in the development environment. So when I make any changes in my report, users are still seeing what is available from the previous published version. The only way that they will get my new changes is that if I go to my app, my workspace, and click on update app. So you can continue making changes, modification, everything you want in your report till you do the testing and make sure that everything is fine, and then finally click on update app, and all of this new content will be published to them. They will have access to it. So it gives you a development lifecycle option. It gives you the option to have your development environment and production environment totally separate. It also gives you a good access setup as well. All of your users would be read-only users. They cannot edit your content. If you want some of these to have edit access, you can, instead of authorizing them on the app itself, you go to the workspace and add them under your workspace. In edit workspace, you can add their user account, things like that here. So these will be users who have access to edit the content. So you have two different edit and read-only access both at the same time within this. So this actually covers all of the limitation that the other two methods has. This is the method to share Power BI content with end users. This is a really good method. I highly recommend using this method. Now, apps are kind of new technology and new feature, so they still have some features coming in. So one of the features is, at the moment when you create a workspace, it is associated with Office 365 group. So when you create workspace, it will create Office 365 groups, which you might be thinking that it is good thing, but the thing is that everyone can create a workspace. So that means you will end up with thousands of Office 365 groups. So this option is one of the things in the roadmap that will be disassociated from Office 365. If you create an app at the moment, users need to go to their app section and click on Get It to install it. This would be able, you would be able to do that later on automatically, to install it for all of them automatically with an option or things like that. At the moment, all of the content in your app will be published all together. You might want to do selective content publish. This is also in the roadmap. Copying a number of Power BI content from one workspace into another workspace is also in the roadmap. So later on, you would be able to copy from one workspace into another workspace, and also you can use this for external sharing. At the moment, Power BI app is for internal sharing. You can share it within your organization. If you want to use it for external sharing with others, then later on there are some options coming with combination of that with Azure B2B and things like that. So this is Power BI app, and it has still some limitations as well. One of the limitation is that, so you might have some users who want to create their own dashboards. They do not want to edit your original report, but they might want to create their own dashboard, like on top of that. Sorry. At the moment, there is no way to for them to create their own dashboard because if they have read access, they cannot create dashboard, they cannot make any changes, they can only view the report, right? Also, the other limitation is that your app does not have an administrator privilege. So everyone who has access, who has edit access on that workspace at the moment, can hit the button which says publish app or update app. And if suddenly someone who has edit access in your developer group suddenly by mistake click on that, that means all users will get the new content, right? So at the moment, there is no app administrator for that as well. So there are a number of limitations, but this will become fixed soon, and a number of new features is coming. Considering all of these, I still recommend publish to web as your best option to publish into production within your organization. The method number 4 is publish to web. Publish to web is the only free way of sharing. It doesn't cost you anything at all. So you just share the content for free, and it is open for public. So that means everyone who has access to that link or page will be able to see that content. So it is not secure at all, but it is free, and it is very simple to share. So let me show you how does it work. So This method of sharing, you have to do that on a report level, not on a dashboard. So I'll go to my workspace and find one of these reports. Let's say this report, not the dashboard, sorry, the report. So I'll go to the report. On the report, there is a file menu option and then publish to web. So this gives you also some explanation that this is for public access, right? So I do not recommend this at all for your organizational data. Only if you want to create a Power BI report, let's say interactively report in your website, put it for public to access, this is the good way. Otherwise, I do not recommend this method at all. So you click on create embed code and publish. It will give you two things. One is the link to the page that you can open this. Another is the iframe HTML embed code. You can put this code in any website you want and embed this into your website. Now, some people think that when we talk about Power BI embedded, that means this. This is not Power BI embedded. This is what we call publish to web. Totally different from Power BI embedded. So what actually this gives you this code. You can embed it into a page. However, it is not secure. So let me show you that now in a new page here. So I just browse that URL. And you can see this doesn't even ask me to log into Power BI. Everyone will be able to access this content. They don't even need Power BI account. Everyone who has access to internet will be able to open this link and see this report. It is an interactive report, fully interactive report as well. If the data get refreshed, I will see the refreshed data as well. And also at the bottom of this, you will see these options. So I can share it even in Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. So you have a lot of sharing options here. And if I share it, other users will see that as well. Now, when you embed that with that embedded code into a page, there are some ways, let's say, to modify JavaScript and hide this sharing part. But still, if someone right-click on your page and select View Source, they can see the source of your HTML. They can grab that embed part of it and put that in another page, and they will have exactly the same report. So it is not a secure way of sharing at all. A lot of people use this for their organizational data, but it is not recommended at all. I do not recommend it. Only if you have public data that you want to share for public to access, this is the method to use. Otherwise, go with other methods that I explained. Okay, so that was published to web. Method number 5 is embed within SharePoint Online. This method is secure compared to the other one. This is also embedding into a page, but this method is secure. Only Power BI users who are authorized to see this content will see that. So users need Power BI account. So if they have only access to SharePoint Online, it is not enough. They need to have Power BI accounts. And their Power BI account should be, again, either a pro account or part of a premium capacity dedication. So the way that it works, it's really simple. You just go to a Power BI report. Again, this should be done on a report level. You go to the File menu and click on Embed in SharePoint Online. It will give you a link. Then you can use this link in SharePoint to embed the Power BI report there. So let me show you the SharePoint website that I have here. Opening the SharePoint website here just to show you how this looks like there. This is a very simple SharePoint website with that Power BI embedded, Power BI report embedded into that. So you can see it takes a little bit of time and it will load the Power BI content there. You can see it's a simple Power BI report as we had in other one, but this one is secure. So so only users who are authorized can see that. At the moment, this account is the creator of this page, but similar to all of the SharePoint security section, you can authorize people to have access to this section. Now, if you add people with no Power BI account, they will not see this content. They will see the site, but when they see here, it will say that you need Power BI Pro content, Power BI Pro account, or to be part of a premium capacity. If you give access to users who has Power BI account and authorize it for them, then they will be able to see exactly the same report within the SharePoint with slicing and dicing. So this is a good method of sharing, especially if within your organization, SharePoint Online is used a lot for collaborative environments, for sharing all the content, so you can even put your Power BI content in there. This method is really simple to use. You just create the embed code, create the URL, and then use it to embed into SharePoint Online. Method number 6, which is the last method of sharing I want to explain today, is Power BI embedded. This method itself, explaining how to do this embedding, it will take at least an hour to talk about that. I have spoken in Microsoft BI Data Insight Summit June this year, a whole session about Power BI for developers, and explained Power BI embedded a lot with that, with a lot of examples. The video of that is already available in YouTube channel of Data Insight Summit. So if you want to learn exactly how to do that, you can follow that approach. So here I just show you an example of that, but I'm not going into details of how to do it because it's a developer discussion. The good thing about Power BI embedded is that your users don't need to have Power BI accounts. You can even embed the Power BI content into any custom applications and then give them access to your application. So you can have your application users password. They will have these application user password, and they can use this to access to the Power BI account, to the Power BI content. Let me show you that as an example. I have a web application here. I just opened that application. Again, this part is using a very let's say secure approach. It works with tokens, with registering your applications. Everyone who wants to have access to that content should have access to your token, your secret client ID that you get through application registration process. So I just show you an example of this. This is definitely secure method. I'm just checking that. Did I open the right project first? Yep, this looks like the right project. So I click on run it. It should come soon into my web browser. Yep. So it's a very simple web application page. It's an MVC web application page. In case that you are interested to learn about that, that codes and things like that, I've written blog posts. I've written 6 blog posts about how to embed Power BI content into application. So I'll go to the embed report link. It gives me a Power BI report embedded into a page and fully interactive. So then this is your web application. You can manage how the user security works on that. You can create your own users roles and give access to these users roles to your audience, and they will be able to access to this report. The licensing plan of this is totally different. It is called Power BI Embedded, which has 2 different types of licensing, EM licensing and A licensing. This is not a licensing talk, so I will not talk about those details. But if you search for Power BI Embedded licensing plan, you will see how it is work. It works basically based on page render. Every time you make a change here, every time you change a slicer, these are all page render, and licensing is working based on that. Okay, So this Power BI embedded will give you also access to embed report, dashboard, or tile. And also you will have access to give some users edit access into your report. So you can embed this in an edit mode. When you embed it, there's a JavaScript section that you can change the mode to be edit mode or view mode. There's a REST API that will work through the authentication process and things like that. This application has a lot of codes that works through that, right? So it is definitely a secure method, and it is a cheaper option, especially if you have, let's say, 100 users or more, compared to paying the pro licensing. So it is definitely a better option in many cases. However, you would need a web developer to maintain this page, because further down in the path you might want to add some make some modification in your web application and things like that. So you would need a developer for this. Okay, so let's do a comparison of these methods of sharing. We talked about 6 different methods. So which one is the best, which one is the worst method of sharing? Every one of these has pros and cons. So I just put a summary of what discussed so far. If you want a free method of sharing, publish to web is your only method, but it is not secure, right? So you have the risk that everyone will be able to see your data. So don't use that method for organizational data. Only use it for the data that you want to publish for public to access within your website, things like that. If you want your users to do not need Power BI account, then again, publish to web is one of the options, or Power BI embedded is the other option. So you can control your own user security and use Power BI embedded with that, which is on a different licensing plan. In terms of access levels, only a couple of these will give you edit access. One of them is workspace. The other one is Power BI embedded. With these 2 sharing methods, you can give some users edit access. With other methods, you can only give them read access. You can also choose if they can share it with others or not. Depends on the method, they have this access. So within the dashboard sharing, you can allow them if they want to share it with others. Within the workspace, you can add them under edit access or even admin access. They would be able to give you, and they will be able to share it with others. Power BI app, they cannot share it with others. Only person who created that app, published that app, can share it with others. Publish to web, yes, definitely they can share it with others. They can share it within Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. SharePoint Online, they can do that if they have access to. It's a SharePoint site and you manage the SharePoint site security as is. Power BI embedded, they cannot manage this. These all has to be managed within the application. So your application developer should take care of all of these things. Is it secure? All of these methods are secure way of sharing except publish to web, obviously. Creating dev and prod environment, having a software life cycle, let's say environment process. This at the moment, the best way for doing that is Power BI app. It gives you developer environment and it gives you the environment for publishing. Some people do that with workspaces, but because of some limitation at the moment in workspaces, I didn't list that under the workspace itself. If you want to share multiple items, workspaces and Power BI apps are the way to do that. And in terms of extra things that you would need for this way of sharing, if you are using Power BI embedded, your extras would be needing a web developer to take care of this sharing and your website. Okay, we have like about 10-12 minutes, so I just go through one of the row-level security methods. The rest of them is available in my blog anyway, so you can read those through. I just explained the very basic row-level security. So row-level security in Power BI has different ways of implementing it. I'll just explain the static one, and then the remaining you can read it in my blog. For Power BI itself, it's really simple to implement. I just open a new Power BI report just to show you how it works. Assume that we have a Power BI report which shows some content from an Excel file. It can come from anything, right? You can do row-level security as long as you get data into Power BI. So I get data from an Excel file. It works with SQL Server, with a lot of data sources, with anything. So I select a couple of tables here, some sales information I load into Power BI. And when I load it into Power BI, I would bring those as a column chart. So I'll just wait a little bit for this to load. Yep, it is loaded. So I'll bring that as a column chart, a sales amount, and a country. So this is a chart that shows me sales by country. I would also put a card visual that shows me sales amount. Okay, so this is the total sales amount, $80 million. For every country also I have a sales value. If I publish this report and share it with others, everyone will have access to everything. All of those who has access to the report will have access to everything. I want only sales person of United States to see United States data, salesperson of UK to see, let's say, UK data, things like that. This is called row-level security. The reason for that is that because we apply security in a row-level filter. So I can create a role here. I would call it United States Sales Manager. And I would put a filter on country field. I would say this is equal to United States. Or I can create another role, which is Europe Sales Manager. And the filter for that is group to be Europe. Right, so you create roles like this. These are DAX filters in the role. You create roles like this. You can test it here as well. This is just for testing. Click on View as Role. Europe Sales Manager, so you will see this. Only Europe countries. And then United States Sales Manager, you will see United States. So this is just for viewing and testing, right? So it works perfectly in this testing. Now, we have to publish this into Power BI website and add users to these roles. So I publish it. I have to save it first. So RLS 2017 11/01 in New Zealand time. It is now 1st of November. So I just save it and then publish it to my workspace. So once it gets published, so it is published already. So I'll go to that report. I find, I will see everything in this report. The person who published the report is report owner. So I will see everything. Then I go to view related, find the data set, go to the security and add people under this. So I would add my other account under this security role that I have. This is adding them under the security. You still need to share this report with them. So I'll go back to my workspace, to that report. I use the basic dashboard sharing. So I just pin it to a dashboard. And then share that dashboard. So now that this is shared with the other user in shared with me will see this report or dashboard, will click on that. However, they will see only these 3 countries. Even if they go to the report, they will see only this part of the data that they have authorized, so only they can see what is authorized for them here. This is called role-level security, and it works really easy. You can see how easy it works here in this scenario. There are other methods of implementing role-level security. Those methods are talking when you have already these roles groups defined within your data tables, and using those data tables as a source of security. That is called dynamic role-level security. And that method especially is helpful when you have a lot of roles to create. So maintenance of that would be high. So for that, we just go through dynamic role-level security to create that. But because we don't have time to talk about that, I just leave it. I have written blog post about it, so you can read about this. And also a role-level security when you have analysis services tabular connection. So we can go through a couple of questions. Let me just see how many questions we've got. Okay, so it's a lot of questions. Okay, let me start from the end. Okay, question: can we restrict users to have just save as functionality instead of both save and save as? Not sure if this is related to which method of sharing. If this is related to
yeah, Power BI embedded it is.
Power BI embedded.
Yes.
Yeah,
Edit mode.
with Power BI embedded, yes, you can control everything. You can control this if they have access to save as or if they have access to save. All of this should be managed through the code. Okay. The other question.
Raja, we can't hear you properly. Can you repeat that answer?
So I mean, in Power BI embedded, you can control everything. You can control if they have this access or not, if they have the other access or not. But all of these control options should be within your application. So within your web application, you should control all of these within the code. It is possible with the code.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any article on this?
I don't have any article about changing this access, but I have like 6 blog posts about how to embed content into Power BI. So once you embed that, then those are just different switch. You just change the switch property fields and it will work perfectly fine.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, other question. Can we publish PBIX file by uploading in our application instead of using Power BI desktop to publish? We do not want to share the Power BI Pro credential with the people who author the report. We want control over which author is requesting to publish the report. So previous method of sharing with Power BI embedded was actually that way. You published it from the application. You can still do that. You can still write part of your application that do the publishing instead of using Power BI desktop to publish it. So it is possible. So you can create an application that you get PBIX file from your developer, then publish it to Power BI website. After publishing it, grab the code, the link for that, embed it into a Power BI Rift. All of these can be automated. The thing about Power BI embedded or REST API of Power BI is that it is very powerful. You can do all of these controls through that. It is all possible.
Okay. Sure.
The last one, what audit capability do we have to see reports being accessed by which user? So in Power BI embedded, it's mainly Power BI embedded questions. In Power BI embedded, you have a number of events. You have an events that which item is clicked. For example, if the report is saved, if the report is filtered. A lot of these are different events, and you can use a lot of these to capture the event details and save it somewhere. You have to do this auditing yourself. So you have to save it, let's say, in a database, then later on probably use another Power BI report to show that usage details. It is all possible.
Okay. So we have functionality which is already there in the Power BI Pro version, like kind of where you can have admin portal and you can try to audit the content, right? So do you have
Yeah.
any functionality of that kind in Power BI Embedded? Any
So
pre-built functionality?
you need to at least have one Power BI account to publish this Power BI Pro account to publish this content under that, and then everything else can be managed through your application accounts.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I think is that?
Not able to hear you.
Hey, Reza, are you there? Hey, Reza, can you hear me?
Oh,
Perfect.
sorry, you couldn't hear me. I just turned my microphone was turned off suddenly. Okay, so I just do a wrap up. As you can see, these are linked to the Power BI book I mentioned, and the articles are in my blog and the website. So make sure that you read those. These are my contact information in case that you have any questions. Feel free to contact me. Eric, do you want to wrap it up, or
I just want to say thank you for giving this presentation for us, and I want to invite everybody in this in this session also, like to if you guys are already registered for this one, you guys will receive an email for Leila presentation on November the 9th, and then we will have another presentation on with Marco Russo. So I want to say thank you, Reza, for your time, and we just finalized the presentation. Thank you very much.
thank you everyone for attending.